Hello everyone. In this video I will discuss one of the series called Black Knight. And never forget that I always pray for you and your family to be happy and healthy always. The film begins in the year 2031 when a large meteor suddenly struck the Earth, causing destruction worldwide. Apart from causing disaster and destruction, it also altered the weather and climate in every country. Even South Korea, once a developed nation, has transformed into a desert expanse with polluted air due to radiation and diminishing oxygen levels. Out of the many inhabitants, only 1% survived the event. To sustain life, Korean society began creating a specialized device called the air core, capable of converting oxyanium into oxygen. However, due to the limited amount of oxygen they could produce, they eventually divided society into three categories: general, special, and core, differentiated by a barcode. By using this barcode, they could order oxygen tanks and pay for them online to meet their daily oxygen needs for activities. Meanwhile, those not included in these categories were deemed refugees. Living in hardship, some of these refugees turned to crime, becoming hunters willing to commit crimes to obtain oxygen and food supplies. Additionally, within the general, special, and core districts, there were regulations prohibiting the smuggling of refugees. Anyone caught breaking these rules would be immediately arrested by the police, regardless of their reasons. Amidst the chaos, there existed a high-risk job crucial for sustaining human life: oxygen couriers who risked their lives to deliver oxygen packages to buyers. As an oxygen courier, a man with the code 58 always manages to deliver packages safely and on time, earning him the reputation of a legendary courier. He is even quite famous among teenagers for his exceptional fighting skills. Before becoming a courier, 58 used to live in the refugee district, where oxygen and food supplies were scarce. Due to this, 58 willingly became couriers, enduring all difficulties to help people from the refugee district. After completing a delivery for an elderly man, 58 receives an emergency message from one of his colleagues, prompting him to rush to the specified location. Upon arrival, he finds his colleague being captured by hunters who intend to cut off his hands and take his package. Despite being in a hurry, 58 immediately confronts the hunters. However, it seems that 58 is reluctant to kill them, as one of the hunters turns out to be his friend from the refugee district. Meanwhile, in a refugee district located in Gangnam, a teenager named Sawol is seen attempting to gamble by challenging a group of people in order to obtain a stock of aid containing oxygen tanks and food supplies. As Sawol is a refugee, he does not have a barcode, so he cannot freely enter and exit homes, which often leads him to sneak around by tampering with cables in the garbage disposal area. For the past 10 years, Sawol has been living with his foster sister, Sawol, who is a major in the military, and has smuggled Sawol into the common district. Additionally, Sawol has another sibling named Sawol, and it seems that the reason Sawol risked smuggling Sawol into the common district is so that Sawol can look after her sibling while she works at the military base. When Sawol learns that Sawol often sneaks out of the house and fights with others, she scolds him because she doesn't want Sawol to be caught by the police. However, Sawol explains that he enjoys fighting because he wants to become a courier like number 58 and obtain his own barcode. Hearing this, Sawol promises to find another way for Sawol to get a barcode. Since Sawol has been frequently leaving the house, Sawol punishes him by forbidding him from going out for 2 weeks. However, the next day when Sula entered Sawol's room, she realized that Sawol had escaped again using a bicycle. He went to a place where he met an old man and his friends, who also lived with the old man. Since it was his last day out before facing punishment, Sawol persuaded his friends to do something: challenge the courier, number 58, who often passed through their area. Long story short, after 58 noticed the speed limit sign set up by Sawol, he immediately slowed down so Sawol and his friends could catch up to the truck. However, it seemed that 58 was aware of their actions, so he tried to swerve his truck to make Sawol and the others fall off. Not only that, but 58 also deliberately activated the safety electricity, causing all of Sawol's friends to fall. However, Sawol managed to endure and even succeeded in getting into the truck, where he confronted 58 face-to-face. There, Sawol challenged 58 to a fight, but unfortunately he failed, as 58 managed to defeat Sawol with just one strike. Long story short, when Sawol returned home, he met Sula, who instructed him to go into his room. Unbeknownst to Sawol, Sula had deliberately trapped him to prevent him from sneaking out of the house again. On the other hand, after 58 finished his job, he suddenly received a message from a mysterious person instructing him to come to gate number 8 tomorrow at 5 p.m. The next day in the Gangnam district, several convoys of luxury cars carrying an official named Ryu Seok were seen heading to Gwangwamun Gate, where there was a place connecting the upper world with the underground city. It had been 40 years since the meteor disaster. Ryu's father, Jae Jin, had used all his money to build the underground city. Now the city is inhabited by the core population, consisting of officials and the most influential people in Korea. Using hundreds of cameras, they tried to monitor the development of the people in one of the special districts. However, due to overpopulation, they planned to build a new city to relocate the residents, and Ryu seemed to disagree with his father's plan. On the other hand, when 58 arrived at Gate 8, he saw several cars transporting air corps entering District A, which disrupted his plan. Consequently, 58 instructed his friend to infiltrate and monitor District A. In short, while Sawol was spending time playing VR games, Sula suddenly noticed that Courier 58 came to replace Courier 57 to deliver their oxygen package. Because Sula was a big fan of 58, she tried to take a photo with him, which annoyed Sawol. Shortly after 58 left for some reason, Courier 57 arrived with a group of armed individuals who attempted to attack and kidnap Sula. When Sawol tried to break down the door, the criminals shot at him, but Sawol managed to survive and fought back until he defeated them all. In the incident, Sula accidentally got shot, resulting in her death, while Sawol was shot by one of the surviving criminals. When 58 realized that something was wrong, he tried to enter Sula's house and found everyone lying down, including Sawol and Sula. As 58 was about to report the incident, he was almost shot by one of the criminals, who then shot himself. After examining them, 58 discovered that the criminals had a triangle tattoo behind their necks. Before leaving, 58 noticed that Sawol was still alive, so he immediately took him to the special district, because he didn't want Sawol, who had challenged him before, to die just like that. After examining Sawol's body, the doctor said that Sawol managed to withstand the gunshot aimed directly at his head, and when 58 checked Sawol's wound, he realized that Sawol was not an ordinary human. On the other hand, when the soldiers arrived at the crime scene, Seola saw that her sister had died due to the attack by the unknown criminals. However, she couldn't find Sawol and the criminals' whereabouts. The soldiers suspected that this criminal act was related to the kidnapping cases that often occurred in the public district, so Seola decided to solve this case no matter what, even if it meant sacrificing her job. Seola then visited the place of the old man and Sawol's friends, but it seemed that none of them knew about Sawol's situation or the case. Besides the old man, Seola also tried to interrogate 58, who was now designated as a witness because he reported the murder incident. Seola seemed to be very suspicious of 58 because, besides the homeowner and the soldiers, the couriers also had special access that could be used to open the door with the homeowner's approval. There, 58 stated that he reported the incident after hearing gunshots, but intentionally hid Sawol's presence. He mentioned that after reporting the incident, he immediately left because he had a package to deliver to the next customer. Long story short, when Seola returned home, she found Sawol already in the room, looking at a photo of himself with Sula. Seola then asked Sawol what really happened, and Sawol recounted his failed attempt to save Sula, but he couldn't remember anything after being shot by one of the criminals. Hearing this, Seola believed that Sawol was not a malicious person who would kill her own sister. However, since Sawol couldn't stay in the public district, Seola eventually allowed him to do whatever he wanted, including becoming an oxygen courier. Before leaving, Seola gave Sawol a necklace containing Sula's ashes, hoping that Sawol could fulfill his dreams. Feeling guilty, Sawol later let the thugs in the refugee district beat him until he lost consciousness. Sawol's friends who witnessed the incident then brought him to the old man's residence, where they tried to encourage him to calm his mind and heal his injured body. On the other hand, as 58 and his team infiltrated District A, they finally obtained information about the disappearance of several children from the refugee district. After gathering all the information, 58 finally learned that the kidnapped children were taken to the refugee district in Gangnam. 58 and his team then tried to lure the kidnappers by giving a tracking device to one of the children, and when they successfully located the kidnappers' hideout, they immediately stormed the building and eliminated all the kidnappers with triangle tattoos inside. It turned out that the kidnappers intentionally abducted the children to conduct experiments on them, but fortunately, their plan was thwarted by 58, who promptly brought the children back home. Meanwhile, in Ryu's room, Ryu's assistant was seen extremely dissatisfied with his cousin, who worked as Courier number 57, because he had failed to carry out the abduction plan, leading the soldiers led by Sawol to start investigating the case. There, 57 explained why he hesitated to carry out the mission, citing rumors about human experiments on the abducted people, but Ryu claimed that they abducted the children because he wanted to save the world. Not only that, Ryu also promised to provide free oxygen forever to 57 as long as he could carry out the next mission without any mistakes. It turns out that the reason Ryu conducted experiments on the children was because he was suffering from a disease, and it seemed that he wouldn't last much longer if he didn't find a cure for his illness. On the other hand, in the soldier's office, Sawol and her team were suddenly not allowed to access data about the cases in the public district. Fortunately, Sawol's subordinates managed to back up some data on the kidnapping cases and oxygen couriers beforehand, and they eventually found anomalies in the data belonging to Courier number 57. Meanwhile, in the logistics district where the oxygen couriers were located, 58 tried to save Courier 57, who was hanging himself, but unfortunately, even though 58 managed to save him, a device behind the neck of 57 suddenly caused his death because Ryu deliberately activated the device. It seemed that Ryu was very angry because his experiment plan had been thwarted by someone, and he even planned to kill his assistant, Parko. However, after Parko promised to work better, Ryu forgave Parko and instructed him to execute another plan. Back in the logistics district, while the couriers were sparring to train their bodies, one courier suddenly challenged 58 to fight him. However, it didn't take long for Courier 58 to defeat the arrogant challenger with just one punch. On the other hand, after Sawol woke up from fainting, the grandfather told Sawol that he must not let sadness take over him and that he must continue to fight to fulfill his dream so that he can make Sawol happy. The next day, when Sawol's friend was wandering around the refugee district, he suddenly came across a brochure about recruiting new oxygen couriers, so he gave the flyer to Sawol, who had always wanted to become an oxygen courier. Shortly afterward, 58, who knew that Sawol lived with the grandfather, tried to provide information about Sawol being bulletproof. It seems that Sawol has mutated because he used to live with his father, who worked in an oxyanium mining area contaminated by radioactive substances. However, the grandfather did not want 58 to take Sawol away, so 58 finally let Sawol stay with the grandfather and then left. In short, when 58 instructed his subordinates to gather in the special district, he was suddenly confronted by Sawol standing right in front of his path, and the film continues. And that's it for the story series of this film. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to support this channel by subscribe, like and share. See you in the next video. Goodbye.